Hello and welcome to All Things Seniors. This is your host Rafiq. With over 20 years of caregiving experience on this channel, I try to empower other caregivers one episode at a time. Today, we will talk about crisis of caregivers shortage. We will talk about what is causing this shortage, what are the impacts this is having on seniors' lives, and what are the impacts it is having on caregivers' lives. Let's begin and dive into understanding this caregiver shortage which we all are facing today. So first of all, let's try to understand why caregivers shortage. And I think that primarily it is because of two reasons. Number one, that there is a high demand. A lot of seniors are becoming seniors, used to be baby boomers, now they are in their mid 60s, 70s, getting into an age where they need a little bit more care compared to their past life. And to provide that care, our society is saying, okay, this is the pool of caregivers which is there to help you. And the pool of caregivers is growing faster with compared to the full pool of caregivers. Why? This is organic. These are the people who are getting into their 70s, 80s, and becoming seniors. But this pool is an optional pool. These are the people who are choosing to become professional caregivers. And unfortunately, because of high burnout, like it's a very demanding job, but very low wages, just like teachers, it's very unfortunate that in our society, these key roles like teachers and caregivers are not being paid very high. So just like teachers, caregivers are not paid high, but it's a demanding job and not many people are getting into that profession. So the demand is increasing at a higher pace and the supply of caregivers is not as robust, due to which there is a gap between what we need versus what we have, and that is causing this shortage. So how it is affecting us? Let's have a look. This shortage is impacting families in a couple of ways, and I'll give you two examples to begin with. Let's say in Canada, most cities have some kind of government-provided senior care. Like the city where I live in, when my parents are becoming that time of their life where they need a bit more care, a care coordinator would come in. She or he will assess my parents' needs and they'll say, okay, we'll send a caregiver these many times a week to provide care for your family, right? So that's part of our social and like the support system that our society has here in the Western world. What is now becoming more challenging, that some of those tasks which government would send a caregiver for are no more considered government-provided care tasks. And I'll give you an example. Previously, let's say a caregiver would come from government, and along with helping them with their meals and medication, the caregiver would also provide, for example, light housekeeping or a few other things, right? But now, because of the strain on the system does not have as many caregivers. So now the government is choosing more critical services like food and medication and saying, okay, previously we were able to provide light housekeeping maybe once every other day or twice a week or once a week. Now it has to be every 15 days because we don't have enough bench strength of caregivers. So that is now being reflected in the quality of life of the seniors. So that is one evident thing. I see that in my surrounding and society. I don't know about you, but that is actually happening. What it is also doing, that now as primary caregivers, I'll say, okay, fine, if no one is coming to provide that support to my mom, okay, let me do it, right? But that was not part of my plan. Now I have to. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like to do it. It's my mom. I really love her. I want to do it for her. But this is something which was there as a support. And because of lack of that support due to shortage, I now have to take over that role. And it impacts my quality of life, right? For some people, maybe they have a backache and they cannot actually do cleaning work, but now they have to, or they have to hire a cleaner, and it impacts their financial stability. And overall, it impacts the caregivers community in a way which they initially did not plan for. So we are highlighting some realities so that we can better plan for it in coming days. Like what is available today may not be available tomorrow, and we just need to be better preparing and planning for not only for our parents, but for ourselves. Imagine what is available today. In 30 years' time, when I would be needing that care, I'm in my mid-40s, when I become mid-70s and I'll be looking for the same care which my dad is looking for today, that care which is available for him today, like even the food prep and medication dispensing, even that may not be present. So now how I'm going to get that care, right? And do I need to better plan for my retirement years in a way that I need to have enough funds to be able to hire private care? Because governments, as much as even if they could afford to provide care to everyone, there are not enough caregivers. So the shortage is impacting our lives today as caregivers, and it is also prompting us to plan for 30 years down the line as to how we are going to plan. And hopefully robots are there to take care of me. So let's pray for the best. If you're liking what you are seeing here, like the episode, subscribe to the channel so that YouTube now shows it to more caregivers. That's how YouTube works, and it helps the channel as well. I really appreciate it. Let's talk more about how this is impacting families in general and what families can do. As I mentioned, it is impacting families by having an emotional toll, financial toll. But what we can do is we need to go back to the model of that there is a village supporting the family, right? When kids are growing up, we have auntie, uncle, neighbor, mom and dad to take care of child care. We need to, in a way, find the same model of senior care or home care, the same village. So it should not be only Rafiq or the government care. It could be the siblings, it could be the neighbor, it could be the friend. Like, we need to have that relationship and trust so that we can ask people. And it is always mutual, right? When we ask for this kind of a help from our neighbor, then our neighbor can rely on us in a similar need. That makes a better community, that makes a better neighborhood, that makes a better bond, right? We feel that there is somebody who has my back, who is helping me, and then we feel the purpose of helping them as well. That's the human connection, guys. I cannot stress you enough that as caregivers, sometimes we try to do everything by ourselves, and if we cannot do it, then we go into that guilt spiral. I encourage you to take a step back and ask yourself, this is my list of things to do. What are the things that I can do? And what are the things where I may need some help? If that help cannot come from a government provided care or there is a caregiver shortage, find that support around you, right? Whether it's a sibling, neighbor, all those people will become your people. Like, you become their people and they become your people. And I think that will give you a lot of comfort. That will give you a lot of purpose, because now reciprocating you will also help them as well. And the last point I want to mention here is that aging in place, I think will be the future, because our models today are retirement homes. And retirement homes are where people go and live in a way in a new community, because they have now left their home in a neighborhood and now they go and live in this retirement community. And it is based on a couple of premises, right? The one thing is that there will be caregivers in that model, or the senior will be able to afford that. And I think personally that if we as a society go in the direction of aging in place, where longer and longer, if we can stay in our own place, it helps us save the rent which would have otherwise paid to a facility, or making new connection at the expense of leaving people behind with whom we lived for so many years. That was your team, that was your people, that was your support system, which in the presence of them, maybe at times you don't need a caregiver because you have a community around you. So my hope is that we think of more sustainable housing options. Co-housing is one of the options. I see more and more communities where, like in Winnipeg, where I live, I know a community where two couples, they shook hand, they got a large house. Not only they have their own master bedroom and a communal area for dining, they both couples, they have 2 or 3 other bedrooms which they have now rented to other seniors. And this has in itself become a smaller retirement home per se, but it has its advantages. Like, they can control who comes in, who is not. They can control the policies. They are not, in a way, subject to this is the building, and I am now coming in a way, in this smaller house, 5 or 6 couples, it is there. Like, this is one of the options, co-housing. And aging in place is something which I always encourage people to highly like keep it on top of your options list. But one thing you need to plan now is that for aging in place to work better, you need to find a bungalow to live in. Families who have large families, like kids, they have a multi-level house, all the bedrooms are on the upper level, and when the kids now grow up, they move out, parents still have their bedroom at the upper level, and any kind of mobility challenge, any knee problem, hip problem, any fall, and now you cannot live there. So finding a bungalow to live on the same floor, where there is bedroom, kitchen, everything on the same floor, preferably even laundry on that floor, and now this becomes your long-term place where you can age in place. So look for bungalow style housing, look for a place where you can stay for as long as possible, and having less reliance on home care, support workers, professional care from outside, and relying more within the family and neighborly support. Having those advocates around us, I think, gives us more meaningful lives. So this is my 2 cents from today. I hope you found something out of it. If you liked it, as I said, like and share. In the end, we always say a rested caregiver is a better caregiver, as we say it here. Take care of yourself, take some rest so that you can provide better care and love to your loved one. Great to have you here today, and I'll see you next week. Until then, ciao.